I had the pleasure of meeting V when he was looking for help building a website. Little did I know that that would end up with him as a tenant, a pandemic hiking buddy, and a very good friend. V's Hansmann started his professional career in business, which he pursued for 30 years, but it was not until his graduation from Bennington College in June of 2011 with an MFA and with a concentration in nonfiction when he truly arrived at his calling as the English major he was always meant to be. He is not shy when he states that those 2 years changed his life. Part of that educational experience was the 10-day residencies in January and June of those years and the fellowship of smart, accomplished people who loved books and were interested in the same thing he was, learning to be a better writer. That led initially to a reading series that culminated in August of 2021 with its 100th reading under the heading of Bennington Writers, and now continues on Zoom at 7 p.m. on the fourth Tuesday of the month as Prospect Street Readings. The establishment of Prospect Street Writers House is V's next step after 10 years of poetry and pizza, and that is what we have the honor of hearing more about today. Allow me to officially welcome V. Hansmann.
Thank you, Jonah. My name is V, and I'm honored and pleased to be here this evening. Jonah has been trying to reel me in for many, many months, but I'm really glad to meet everybody. I got up here permanently on the 9th of March of 2020. And from New York City, and I haven't looked back. But as Jonah alluded to, this project here at the top of Prospect Street has had a long gestation period. I went to the Bennington writing seminars, and it was the best thing I ever did for myself. And I just spent the next 10 years looking for a place to settle down and start a residency. A writer's residency is basically it's a B&B for eggheads. The way it's going to work is you apply, you send a writing sample. It gets sort of juried, and you get a 2-week residency here at Prospect Street. And you get 2 meals a day and a room with a bath and the pleasure of being in a New England village. And what could be better? Let me see. I kept coming back June and January because that was the graduation of the writing seminars program. It's a 2-year program. And in June of 18, I was driving around with my friend Megan and noticed the for sale sign on the Prospect Street nursing home, and said, "Megan, house tour." So yeah, we called up Hoisington, and they were kind of surprised that anybody wanted to look at the old derelict nursing home. But yeah, I saw it in June, and I purchased it in December. And because I could see it was going to work. The property the building's on 1/3 of it. Parking lot is in the middle, and there's sort of extra on both sides. I could make it work, and I was in Bennington, and it was great. So right after I bought it, I called up Gary Cordy Gary Corey at Centerline Architects, and we started the process of making the plans. And because he'd done some work on the Bennington campus that I'd seen, and that was all the due diligence I needed to do. Because I wanted to use a local architect, because it would be so much easier for everybody. And I had a ball. I always wanted to build a house. I always wanted to build a house. So I built a house for writers. Anyway, so construction started in sort of June of 19, and it was basically done in June of 2021. And so I moved up here in March, right on the tailwinds of the pandemic, and I'd booked a 2-bedroom apartment at Hawkins House from Jonah before then, because I was sort of coming up and to supervise or observe the construction every 2 weeks, and I needed a place to land. So that March day was when I landed up here, and it's been great. And on the 13th of March, Jonah and I took our first hike, walk, stroll, march, call it what you will. And we did that for every week for, 14, 15 months. It was great. Because all I want in those early pandemic months, all I wanted was somebody to talk to, some real person to talk to. And we just social distance our asses off out in the wilderness. It was great. So, meeting Jonah and meeting Gary offered me sort of an entree into the community, and it's been so easy for me to feel like I'm part of Bennington and part of the process. And it's the learning curve wasn't quite as steep as it might have been, and I'm very grateful for that. In August of 2020, I told Jonah that, the building's going to be done by Halloween. I'm going to be out of here. So Jonah went and found another tenant, and of course the building wasn't done, so I had to find another place to live. But then in February of 2021, I moved into Prospect Street. It was still a construction site, but the second floor was finished. And my daughter Alice also moved in here with me. She's currently sort of a junior at Bennington College. She's a non-traditional student. She's 33. We come honestly by, we haven't done our education in a straightforward manner. Most of us have had a lot of lag time. Anyway, she lives in front in the Victorian part, and I live in the back, and we meet for meals. So that's what my living situation is like. But today I have 9 people staying here, not including Alice. They are current students at the Bennington Writing Seminars. They took the initiative. Their January residency was going remote, and they took the initiative to get in touch with me and come up here and spend the 10 days with me. they're test pilots, guinea pigs. They just help me figure out how this thing works without, without diving in half cocked. It's been really sweet. They're lovely, but they're as untrainable as house cats. I can't get them to recycle really with any consistency. So I'm in house mother mode, and I can do it, but boy, when they leave on Sunday, I'm going to take a long nap. Anyway, it's a big adventure. I needed a venture. Because when I went to Bennington, I was working in finance for 30 years, and the office closed in 2008. And 6 months later, I was up here getting a master's in creative writing. So that's the turning point, really. And I needed a project. I needed an adventure, and so I'm doing it here. On the 3rd of January, our applications went live for residency starting on June 4th. They're the 2-week residencies. We've got 12 bedrooms to fill. So, that's kind of the short version, or the medium-sized version, I guess. I hired myself a consultant. His name is Gary Clark, and he was the head of the Vermont Studio Center up in Johnson, outside of Burlington, for 7 years, and worked there for another 30. And he knows how to do this. And I have been so lucky with the people I've met in Vermont. I feel like I'm in a big hand. If you have any questions, bring them on. I'm happy to elaborate on anything.
I love how understated you are, V. And I guess I'm thinking in particular about the odyssey of this property on Prospect Street. And I think a lot of people who are familiar with the community in North Bennington might remember this property back in its days as a nursing home. And if you haven't driven by there recently, you must. And it's astonishing the transformation that has occurred. And one of the things that I've appreciated is the attention to preserving historic details on the house. And I wonder if you could just maybe comment a little bit about that experience and working with Gary Corey, who I understand received an award recently. Could you elaborate on that for us?
Yes. My architects, Centerline Architects, Gary Corey is the chief architect. They won a 2001 honor award from the Vermont chapter of the American Institute of Architects. I went to the ceremony in Montpelier on the 9th of December because I'm a good client. And it's a showcase. This place is really quite something. Please come visit. I'd love to show it off. I've got 12 bedrooms and a big kitchen and dining room and a library. And the wonderful thing about the about the nursing home was that Victorian on the front had still had a lot of its detail left. The staircase and the banister and all the molding in the front parlor. But the rest of the thing was a wreck. It was that New England style of architecture where you just add on and add on and add on and add on in the back. And so the floors went like this, and the sprinkler system was like this. And basically we got rid of all that. The whole 2/3 of, or maybe even 3 or 4/5 of the building are absolutely brand new. But the 2 front rooms are really pretty lovely. The front parlor is now a library with bookcases and the 3 French doors, and it's a very handsome building. And I could see that it needed some TLC. Yeah. So I get a certificate. I'm like the scarecrow. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes. I guess I'm maybe the only one here that doesn't know exactly what this is all about. What is your charter? What are you doing?
I offer 2-week stays for writers. I'm basically a B&B for writers.
Okay.
It's formally called a Prospect Street Writers House, and we're a writers residency, which just means you apply for a 2-week period, throughout the year, and there's a jury process, and if you get accepted, you come and you get 2 meals and 2 hots and a cot kind of thing. And I just want it. There's a New England poet named Donald Hall, who lived in New Hampshire and was involved with the Bennington writing seminars. And I just think he's a very wise man. And one thing he said is something that I hold close to my heart. He said that the friendship of writers is the history of literature. And I'm trying to do my best to fulfill that by offering people a chance to start their manuscript, finish their manuscript, try and get over writer's block, meet new people, get away from their annoying family life, and get some work done. That's what I'm up to, and we'll see how it goes. I've already got almost 10 submitted applications. Yay! So we'll see what happens.
V, do you have, is there a formal connection to Bennington College?
No, I have an informal connection. I've been trying to be a good citizen, and I've talked to the last 3 presidents.
Oh yeah.
But we don't have a formal relationship. I'm willing to entertain just about anything.
So the people who come, do they work independently then, and they don't do anything at the college then?
No. Certain readings and things are open to the public, and I'm sure that they could definitely go to them, and probably they can use the library. But with COVID, things are wacky, I I picked Bennington. I didn't really pick, Bennington picked me. I'm that kind of person. I landed here.
You
Anyway.
mentioned earlier that you'd spent some 30 years in finance,
Mhm.
and then headed to Bennington to become a writer, or
Yes.
and can you tell us a little bit about that? That's quite a shift in course direction and gears.
Yes, I gladly. I was an English major in college. I didn't complete my college education very successfully because I was much more interested in beer. But I love books. I was able to get all the reading done, but I couldn't really get my ideas down on paper. And it was, I'm 72 and I started college in 1968 and the world was on fire and the music was great and everything was going crazy. And so was I. So I got sort of churned out of that. But my interest in books and reading and writing, that continued. I wandered around in the wilderness trying to devote myself to literature for about 7 years, and then I took a job in finance. That through a family friend, and I took a couple of accounting courses, double entry bookkeeping, and I learned how to read annual reports. And I worked for a small office that it was a family office, and I researched companies and wrote reports, and I made investment recommendations, and I was good at it for about 15 years. And then the market changed and what I was interested in, pharmaceuticals, changed. When I started, there were 13 major American drug companies. And when I ended, there were 5. And some of them were foreign based anyway. Anyway, so I did that and I got stuck in it, the way you get stuck in jobs. And I coasted for a long time, and then the office closed in 2008 because it was a family office, and the 3rd and 4th generation weren't interested in doing it the way we'd been doing it for 60 years. So it closed, and I said to myself, I'll be goddamned if I ever see another annual report in the rest of my life. So I applied to Bennington. That was the only place I applied. I said, I'm gonna do this. And I got accepted. I had to jerry-rig a portfolio and I got accepted. And I took a risk. And I'm here. I'm here because of that like just 52 pickup thing. And I'm happy here. I think New England is great. The Green Mountains are astonishing every minute of the day.
So at Bennington, I'm sorry.
No,
at Bennington, did you actually study writing as part of
Yes. The writing seminars, the way they're constructed is you're on campus 10 days in January and 10 days in June. And the rest of the time you're back in your life dealing with your job or whatever. And and trying to generate 20 to 25 pages of new work to send off to your instructor every month. So I was really churning it out. I was in it. I was writing about myself. I was writing essays, and I started writing poetry, and I loved it. I loved the craft of it. I loved making sentences. It wasn't that I had a great novel in me or something to tell the world. It was just, this is what I love to do. You know, I could throw pots and get the same pleasure. Anyway, that's what I did.
I've got a quick question.
Sure.
I see on your website you have monthly readings. They're on Facebook Live. One
Yes.
on Tuesday the 25th. And so the writers that are on there, are they people you've worked with before, or who are these folks? Jonathan, Gail, Mary, Christopher, and Maura.
I started a reading series in New York City in August of 2011, right after I graduated. And it was a monthly reading series, and it was in the basement of the Cornelius Street Cafe. And it was Bennington centric. It was called the Bennington Writers Reading Series. And COVID came in and put the kibosh on everything. And I moved to Vermont, and that was the double kibosh. And so it went dark for about 6 months. And then I was talking to a friend who was doing a lot of online Zoomy stuff. He said, if Sean can do it, I can do it. So I sort of resurrected it and changed the name. Well, actually in August, it was the 100th reading of the Bennington Writers Reading Series. He said, that's a good time to give it another twist. So it's now Prospect Street Readings. But it's still sort of Bennington centric. The readers there are occasional ringers that I've met along the way, but most of them are either students, graduates, faculty, staff, or friends of the Bennington Writing Seminars. And that's given me a big Rolodex, which helps when I'm trying to start a business for writers. I'll try and answer anything.
So how was the whole process of buying the old building, going in, gutting it? Like, did everything go well with the village and zoning and planning and all that? Were they happy to see you?
Yeah, somebody bought that place. It was a miracle. It was apparently on the market for 5 years before I came along foolishly. So the village was very accommodating, and we weren't trying to pull the wool over their eyes or do something fancy. They've been really helpful. We had some adventures in the beginning. In January, right after I bought it, we had 15,000 gallons of water in the basement. A pipe had burst, fortunately, in the basement. So it just filled up, turned it into a swimming pool. And then they discovered vermiculite in the roof. Vermiculite is a mineral. Most people associate it with gardening and landscaping and stuff, but it's a mineral and it's mined with asbestos. And when they discovered that, I went in the rabbit hole of asbestos abatement, which is just hellish. But I have no vermiculite in my building anymore. Vermiculite was used as insulation and fire retardant back in the day. So it's always an adventure. Expenses you didn't even imagine can hit you upside the head.
So one other thing I was thinking on your people who are applying, is there a fee that you charge them, or they pay you, or
Yes,
them, or
there's an application fee, and that's $30.
Okay.
The true price for a 2-week residency is $2,250. $2,250. But if you're accepted, you get a fellowship of $1,000. So the actual cost to you is $1,250, which turns out to be $95 a day, which I think is a really pretty good price for 2 hots and a cot. But we'll talk to you if your finances can't meet that. But I believe that everybody needs to have skin in the game, so you got to pay something.
I think it's great that you describe it as 2 hots and a cot. I've seen the rooms; they're extraordinary. I know that the furniture, although it has sort of a clean aesthetic, my wife is in the background saying a Spartan aesthetic. It's exquisitely done. I know that you had the furniture handcrafted by a Vermont furniture maker.
Yeah.
And I just want to clarify, because if you're thinking it really is just 2 hots and a cot, it's quite a cot that you're going to be on.
Okay. Yes, that's me underselling. In reality, what I've built is the best dorm ever. The beds and the desks are all solid cherry. A woodworker, furniture maker in South Pomfret named Pete Michelini made 12 of them during COVID. It kept him busy. And they're just so beautiful. Cherry is so pretty. So I would, if you guys would like to come visit, take a tour, I'd be more than happy to show you around. I love talking about it. My daughter Alice will run away instantly. She is sick of these tours, but not me.
Most people can't write a novel in 2 weeks. Are there people that want to extend their time there, or?
Yes, we can take you 12 weeks if you want to. But that's the limit. It's not so much, you can get a lot done in 2 weeks. If you're taken care of and you're sort of hermetically sealed, and the distractions of your regular life are gone, out of mind, you can get a lot done. If you're in a position where your project is almost done, you can finish it. You can get a draft done, or you can polish the draft, or start something new. There are 200, 250 of these residencies. Oftentimes they're in the country. Oftentimes they're coupled with fine artists. And this is a rare one that's just for writers. Ones you might have heard of are the McDowell Colony in New Hampshire Yaddo, which is in Saratoga Springs. They're old. They're 100 years old at least, and come with much more cachet than Prospect Street Writers House at the top of Prospect Street. But I believe in the friendship of writers.
I'm sure in 100 years, the Prospect Writers House will be just as renowned. And let me be the first to say thank you so much for coming and doing this. It's really just a pleasure hearing about this extraordinary vision that you've brought to fruition.
Oh, Jonah, thanks. Thanks for inviting me. It's great to see you people.
Thank you all so much. I mean, V, for telling your story. It's quite remarkable. And it's a part of the area that, although I've been here for now 12 years, but geez, you know, this is an unknown. So thank you, Jonah, for bringing this to the surface for those of us who have much to learn about the area. This is just quite exceptional.
Yes.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. And if you see me at the Hannafords, you know, you can recognize my sparkling eyes.
Okay. Any final questions? Hearing none, I guess we will step aside. And once again, V, thank you. Jonah, thanks for bringing this to us. And it's been terrific.
Thanks, everybody. I really enjoyed it. I really did.
Okay.